Good day, my happy friends. I am Drew Eric Miller, and thanks for choosing my podcast. With so much content in the world today, it's my honor to bring you just a little more happiness with each listen. I used to wonder, can I be happier? Can I live a rich, abundant life? Can I dream big and manifest my dreams? The short answer is yes, I can. After much dedicated research, I have discovered beneficial action steps, tools, and life hacks while thriving on my journey to deep and meaningful happiness. In this podcast, I am sharing my research so you too can thrive on your journey to happiness. So get comfortable with a notepad or journal, and together we will manifest happiness. Welcome to part 2. Can I have more love? I loved talking about love so much that I broke this episode into 2 parts. And today we will finish part 2. I love that you're listening. Enjoy. There's the immature love. There's the love that that teenagers have, or the preteen crush, or the love of a superstar that feels so emotional. I remember somebody was saying how much they loved Justin Bieber when they were young, or somebody that loves Taylor Swift now, or that's the immature love, which is the beginning learning stages of love, and that's beautiful. It's fun. It's enjoyable. Conditional love is definitely complicated. When I will love you as long as you don't change, or I will love you as long as you are young, or I will love you as long as you do XYZ. That's conditional love, which isn't a healthy love. That's not a love that we should aspire to. A tit for tat love. I will only love you if you're, or a parent saying that I will only love you if you are not gay. If you are gay, then I will no longer love you, and I shun you from my life, which unfortunately is what happens every day in society. So a conditional love isn't healthy, and that's not something we should strive to. And so pay attention to yourself. What if you have a conditional love, or if somebody has a conditional love on you, because that is one of the lower level. That's not necessarily love, but I'll talk about that with the next question. Can people change? Yeah, they can. And you might love the person that you first met, and then when they change, you might not love them as much, or you might not love the way they're acting, or you might not love who they've become, and that's okay. That people are going to change, and we can't stop the progress of somebody changing for our own benefit. And so if that means that if somebody has changed, this is the complicated love part, if somebody has changed, then we are either going to love that change in them, or we're going to release them so that they're not directly in our life anymore, because we no longer love the person that they've become. That's drugs and alcohol, abuse, somebody turns out to be a criminal, or just anything. I mean, anything that you felt love for them before, and then they became something else, then that's perfectly fine to release that love, because people change, and that's healthy. Growth is healthy, change is healthy, and if they negatively change, in your opinion, then that's not healthy for you, and then that's okay to to release that feeling. You can still have love for the person that you were in love with or loved once, but that doesn't necessarily mean you still have to love them and who they are today. You can love them and release them because they've changed and you're not comfortable with that, and that's okay. So what isn't love? Love isn't conditional. Love isn't, if you do this, I'll love you. If you obey me, I'll love you. If you rob a bank, I'll love you. If you continue to do what I say, I'll love you. That's not love. I have seen where a person was manipulative and convinced another person that they loved them while they were manipulating them, abusing them, controlling them, dominating them, and just basically being a narcissistic person towards them in a complete controlling manner, while they were convincing the person that this was love. So that's not love. That isn't love. That is the person that thought they were in love was actually manipulated, conned, led to believe that these behaviors are normal and that this is love, and it's not. We have seen this in movies and television shows and countless abusive relationships, alcoholism, abuse, physical violence, just a multitude of abuse when people have been in a relationship. They've been in a relationship thinking that this was love, and it's not. It's not love. It's manipulation. It's a con. It's all that. And so that is a good example of what love isn't. The person that is in that partnership believes that they are in love with the abuser because that is what the abuser has intentionally laid out for them. They've laid out a pattern of behavior that has drawn that person into believing that they love them, when it's all a well-orchestrated, constructive design to feel that way. And if you're one of those people in that position, it's difficult to realize that. But this is one thing that is really important to remember if you're in one of those situations and you're feeling that way. It's not your fault. This happened because it was a design, an orchestration for you to feel this way about that person. And that means that things were laid in your path like breadcrumbs that you picked up on a trail, and that eventually led you to believing that this was love because that was intentional. Which means, if you're in that situation, it's not, you haven't done anything bad, you just followed the breadcrumbs into believing that this person and this feeling that you had was love. And love isn't abusive, love isn't manipulative, love isn't argumentative, love isn't somebody withholding love from you, love isn't somebody refusing to meet your love languages. Love is cooperation, is kindness. Love feels good. Every positive thought ever about love is what love is. And every negative emotion or feeling or experience that you have in life isn't love. That's not what love is. So if you want more love in your life, focus on the parts that are positive, that make you feel good, and that make the other people feel good. And observe the parts in your life that feel manipulative, abusive, uncomfortable, because those aren't feelings of love, and don't confuse them. So how do I create more love in my life? That is the big question. So I have 2 action steps for you. Start a daily love practice, which means pay attention to how often or how much you love in a day. So however you want to do that, journal, meditate, take notes in your phone, whatever it is you want to do, just observe how often you feel love in a day. Because if you're feeling angry, resentful, mad at coworkers, mad at friends, mad at your spouse, mad or in general, angry, anything that isn't love, then pay attention to how much you're feeling that. An example is, if you're feeling love 2 hours a day, and you're feeling frustration, anger, irritation 10 hours a day, then that's not what you want. So, I mean, ideally, if you're awake and you're feeling anything for 12 hours, you should be feeling love and happiness. And that's my opinion. That's what I'm striving for. That's how I want to feel every day. I want to feel like I'm having a loving life every day. I want to feel happy and joyful. And so your action step is to pay attention to how much love you are feeling and expressing in a day. I'll say that again. How much love are you feeling and expressing in a day? That is your action step. So if you want more love, be more loving. Loving to others, loving to everyone, loving to coworkers, loving to the homeless. I keep food in my car so that I can hand out a food bar at a traffic light when there's a homeless person there. You know, holding a door for somebody, and remembering to, you know, make your spouse a coffee or fix lunch, or, you know, bring donuts to work. Whatever it is that you can do that's going to make more love in your life, create more love in your life, then do that. Surround yourself with love. Surround yourself in an environment that makes you feel loved. You know, the things that are in your life, should reflect love. They often talk about this in hoarding or any kind of a clearing of a home. If you hold up an object in front of you, and if you don't love it, then get rid of it. They often talk about that when you're clearing out your closets or decluttering your home or anything like that. Look around your surroundings, and if you don't love it, then you should get rid of it or consider getting rid of it. Clothing, options, whatever. So that is an action step. Look around at your surroundings and see how much you have in your space that doesn't bring you love and happiness. For instance, let's say that you are holding an object that you inherited from an aunt that you didn't like, and you don't like this, collection of figurines that you now have from the aunt that you didn't like. Well, those figurines aren't going to bring you love. You don't need to keep them. Nobody is making you keep them, so you can let go of them because those objects don't bring you love. So not only look and pay attention to your surroundings, but pay attention to what the item brings to you. Does it remind you of an ex? Does it remind you of a spouse? Does it remind you of a friend that you're no longer friends with? Does it remind you of a parent that you don't care for, or a family member that you don't care for? So look at the things and surroundings in your life and see if they bring you joy, and if they don't, they shouldn't be in your life. That goes the same with friends. Friends should be the ones that you have in your life because they bring you joy. Be selective. If you have not been a selective person on the people that you allow into your space, start being selective about the people that you have in your space. Realize, wow, the way they continue to act doesn't make me feel good. And so you can be selective, and you can put up a boundary, and you can let people go. Because if you really want more love in your life, then you need to look at the people in your life and see how many of them are actually bringing you that feeling of love. Pets are also a great example of having love in your life. Pets bring a lot of joy and a lot of happiness to a lot of people. So, I highly recommend them. I've always had a dog. I love having my dogs, so they bring a lot of love. Generosity. Are you giving? Do you give money? Do you give money to charities? It's often talked about giving as a kindness, an act of kindness out to others, and that is a loving expression where you can financially give. It doesn't matter how much. If you don't have a lot of money, even $1 is still $1. Whenever I go to the grocery store and it says, "Do you want to donate $1 to the children's blah blah blah?" Yes, I do. How much? $5. $1. Yeah. Every single time I'm asked, I give. And I also give to multiple charities because I feel that's valued. I can do it, and I think it's important. And if you can't give financially, then quality time, giving of your time, helping at a food kitchen, all of that creates more giving love in your life. My second action step is release what doesn't serve you in your life. What is not bringing you love, you can release it. And we've already talked a little bit about that. But more importantly, your thinking is really important. So you need to release anger, resentment, grudges, pain, anguish, hardship. You need to release any emotion that isn't love. So again, back to that analogy, if you're experiencing love for an hour a day, but you are holding grudges and angry and spiteful and feeling all these other emotions for 11 hours, that is where you need to look so that you can release that and heal that. And it's important. In my first podcast, I talked about, healing the past and healing, relationships and letting go of all those hardships. So you can go back to that one for that. But the question in this podcast was, how can I feel more love in my life? And the answer is, an action step is, release what isn't serving you. So if you're holding on to any of those emotions or any of those feelings for people in your life, that is where you need to address, release, and let go of. If that means you need to see a therapist, if that means you need to see me as a life coach, that means you need to see a spiritual leader or a religious leader, whatever you need to do to focus on releasing that is what your action step is. So pay attention. Observe how much in a day you feel that way, and start focusing on how you can feel less of that and feel more love. So in conclusion, it's important to remember, if you want more love in your life, you need to create a loving life. If you want more love, you need to be more loving. If you want more love, you need to express more love. If you want more love, you need to give more love. And then there's also those people that have a difficult receiving love. So if you want more love, you need to receive love also. Love is a continual circle, an expression that continually goes around and around. It's receive and give, receive and give, receive and give. It's a mutual feeling. And if you want a loving, happy-filled life, you need to become a loving, happy person yourself in all aspects. And if this sounds foreign to you, well, then just start doing it in little bits, little parts, and see the difference that just a little bit more love makes in your life. Look at your daily love practice and see what you can shift and change in order to make you feel more loved. So that's the podcast. Thanks for listening, and tune in next week for more happiness, and have a great week. Thank you.